In the heart of Dreadford, in a forgotten corner of an ancient building, lived Elara Rhodes, a reclusive artist whose works already carried whispers of the otherworldly. Her paintings were visceral, strange, and often deeply unsettling. She captured uncanny realms as if she had walked their paths herself. But this latest series of creations would surpass them all, pulling her down a path few could imagine. It began with dreams, sharp and vivid. Each night, Elara found herself in a sprawling temple, submerged beneath the roots of an ancient mountain. Monolithic stone pillars twisted in geometric impossibilities, stretching and folding as though bound by dimensions beyond human perception. The walls bore symbols in languages she'd never learned, glyphs that whispered as she passed. She felt an unnatural familiarity there, a sense of longing and dread. But each morning, as her memories slipped from dream to consciousness, the sense of foreboding did not fade. Instead, it burrowed deeper. She began to paint feverishly, unable to control the movements of her own hands. Her once organized studio devolved into chaos. Sheets of canvas layered the floor, and paint cans overturned, leaving trails of dark, viscous colors that streaked across the room like veins. She painted for hours, days, weeks without end, a haunting replica of the temple taking form on her canvases. Her friends and patrons grew concerned. Elara was once a social recluse, yes, but not like this. She rarely ate, barely slept, muttering to herself as she layered brushstroke upon brushstroke with a violent, obsessive rhythm. She had abandoned her usual style and instead conjured landscapes and architectures that felt alive. Shadows stretching across impossible plains, vast doorways yawning into the darkness, and towering figures cloaked in mist. One day she found herself holding an ivory key, not remembering where it had come from or when she had picked it up. It was carved with the same symbols as in her dreams, intricate marks that seemed to shift under the light. She held it, entranced, feeling an electric pull as though it were calling to something inside her. That night her dreams grew darker. She felt herself in the presence of titanic beings, formless yet horrific, composed of shadows and stars. Their voices echoed in an ancient tongue, vibrating through her very bones, whispering secrets about time and space, revealing to her glimpses of alternate worlds and doorways between realities. Days later, her hands trembled as she painted what could only be described as a portal, a whirling, chaotic maw of darkness flanked by impossible geometries. The colors and lines pulsed on the canvas, so vibrant they seemed ready to consume the room around her. Her brushstrokes seemed dictated by an unseen force, driving her deeper and deeper into madness. She became convinced the portal was no mere creation but a gateway, a passage to something lying just beyond, waiting to cross over. One night, she found herself standing on the cold shore of Dreadford's beach, barefoot, the stars above stark and cruel against the midnight sky. The wind whispered in her ear, ancient voices threading together, binding her in their chant. The sounds were incomprehensible but strangely familiar, and she knew with a sick certainty that her transformation was nearing completion. By the next morning, she was no longer Elara Rhodes, not truly. The compulsion within her had overpowered all vestiges of her former self, stripping away her thoughts, her fears, even her will. She painted without end, the temple now bleeding off the canvas and onto the walls, the floors and the windows of her studio. Her work no longer needed canvases. Her hands painted of their own accord, her eyes vacant, glazed with dark ecstasy. The day they found her was marked in her journal as the Convergence. She had scrawled a single sentence over and over, filling the last pages with the same words, sinking deeper into madness with each line. I am but the brush, the abyss, the artist. After Elara was confined to Dreadford Asylum, her paintings, over 100 canvases of distorted vistas, cryptic temples, and terrifying figures, went up for auction. Only one buyer showed any interest. Professor Samuel Stone, a collector with an eccentric reputation, made an offer for the entire collection. He came to the auction himself, his eyes gleaming with something dark and knowing as he surveyed the work, his face set with eerie calm. His presence commanded the space, and no one dared question his motives as he methodically inspected each painting, touching the canvases with reverence. To the professor, these works weren't just art, they were conduits, tools meant to awaken the abyssal forces, sleeping beyond human comprehension. Months later, he walked through a sprawling estate on the outskirts of town, arranging the paintings with a discerning eye. The walls of the room filled with Elara's work, each image placed precisely, like pieces of a larger, sinister puzzle. The effect was overpowering, an oppressive atmosphere cloaking the room. In the center of the room was a crib, covered in fine lace, awaiting the arrival of a small, unknowing child. This child was no ordinary baby, but a carefully chosen vessel, born to bring the cult's vision to life, a living conduit for the dark gods who Elara had unwittingly channeled. Stone walked around the crib, whispering words in a forgotten language, his voice like a droning prayer to an unseen presence. He would make certain that she grew up surrounded by Elara's creations. She would absorb the knowledge held within the paintings, the temple, the portal, the dark gods hidden beyond human understanding. This room would be her world, and these gods her silent mentors. As he lit a candle, Stone stepped back, his gaze fixated on the crib. A smirk tugged at his lips as he murmured to himself, his voice a low, reverent hum.
Welcome, little one. The abyss awaits its daughter.